Welcome back to Captains of Industry. Still with me in studio is André Meyer, the Group CEO of Medscheme. So André, we were just talking on NHI before the break. The truth of the matter is there's been a lot of criticism when it comes to policies. We've got fantastic policies. We've got quite a lot of capital that is allocated to the health industry, but we still see inefficiency in spending. And some would argue that given the fact that we can't get this system right, how can we possibly think we can tackle something as big as NHI?
It's not going to happen overnight. There are a lot of problems in the current system. It's been acknowledged by government as well. I think there's a real effort from government to try and make it work. It's going to take a while to get there. But with the commitment that we're seeing with the current Minister of Health, we do believe that we will get to a point where we will see efficiency and we will see a turnaround in what is being delivered.
In terms of the public hospital space, when you juxtapose that against what we see in the private healthcare space, there's a massive difference in quality. When NHI does come to the fore, are we going to see an amalgamation of the private sector hospitals with public sector hospitals? How do you think that is going to work? Because obviously there needs to be synergies between the two.
No, it's unlikely that there will be amalgamation, but what we do see is that there will certainly be a greater focus on public and private sector working together to deliver healthcare, not just in the hospital space, but across the board, also in the environment that we're operating in at the moment.
Let's touch on some of the headway you've made. Let's touch on Ireland and why you actually picked this country out of Africa, because you're already established in Africa, and we'll get to that in just a bit.
We didn't specifically pick Ireland. We really went to a number of countries all over the world. And what we did realize is that the expertise that we have, the quality of the IT systems, the quality of the managed care interventions that we have in South Africa is unique compared to the world and is a lot more advanced than what they deliver in other countries. And with that, we then started marketing our services, and it just so happened that we were able to market our services to the largest health insurer in Ireland.
So are you saying that we are ahead of the curve here in South Africa? If
we
so,
are,
how?
Let me give you an example. Within the South African environment, we receive about 95% of our claims from providers electronically, and those claims go through our system. They're assessed through our system and paid through the system without any human intervention. Now, in Ireland, as an example, and this also applies to a number of other countries like Brazil, for example, the claims that are submitted are 100% in paper form. That shows you, that's an idea as to how far we are ahead. We've seen the same on managed care as well. There is really, in the Irish environment, there is absolutely no, if any, managed care interventions.
So I'm sure there are other interested parties. So tell us about the other countries that would be interested to work with you. We
are currently exploring. We like Europe in terms of the potential opportunities, in terms of the culture fit. We're able to work well with a number of the European countries, primarily the English-speaking UK environment. And we see a lot of opportunity there for us to do further work and to market our services there. So yes, we're very actively involved in that.
So I mean, Europe, largely developed world, apart from peripheral Eurozone, some of the issues there. What about the overall emerging market space? And I'd like to draw on what we see coming through from Discovery, speaking to the CEO, Adrian Gore. No real move towards the rest of Africa. They really are focusing on the developed nations, apart from China, which seems to be a gold mine in a sense. But here you are, you're in Botswana, you're in Namibia, Swaziland, and you're in Zimbabwe and Mauritius as well. So you're going against the grain in a sense. You're going to the more emerging market space.
Our strategy and our philosophy for Africa is that Africa offers good opportunity, but we will tread very cautiously in Africa. We really have focused on the countries in the southern area of Africa because we see value there. We do pretty well there. We are the largest provider in all of those countries you just mentioned. And we're looking for selective other opportunities in Africa as well. But we, as I said, we are going to be careful about how we enter.
Well, tell us about your operations in Zimbabwe. I'm sure it is an interesting and challenging market.
Yeah, Zimbabwe is a challenging market. It has been for a number of years. But you know, we have considered whether we should withdraw out of Zimbabwe.
How long have you been in Zimbabwe for?
We've been in Zimbabwe for the last 10 years. And you know, we've taken the decision. We want to be in Zimbabwe for the turnaround. We've seen good things happening. Over the last year, we've doubled our membership in Zimbabwe. So things are slowly but surely recovering in that environment.
When it comes, I mean, you're focusing predominantly on sub-Saharan Africa. Are you planning to go as large as China at any point, given the fact that, as you say, we're slightly more sophisticated than the global norm? Have you done any case studies there?
No, we have not. We will not, at this stage, be entering China. We just, believe that there's too many opportunities for us elsewhere. And we also have limited resources, so we would prefer to focus on less opportunities and make a success of that.
I know that one of your visions are to take Medscheme to a global level. You're talking about the emerging market space and there being a lot of opportunity for you. But what is your vision going forward? What is your target for Medscheme in the next 5 to 10 years?
We would like to at least derive in the next 5 years at least 50% of our revenue to be from outside of South Africa. And that will be through a combination of both acquisitions, partnerships, and also securing new contracts in both Africa and also the European market.
Are you moving this more aggressively given the fact that NHI is imminent in a sense and the fact that there is headway being made within the space and perhaps your revenues from South Africa could actually be warped down the line?
We believe we could potentially be a player in NHI. We currently provide services to the government employee medical scheme, and we believe that although there is potential growth for us in South Africa, that we should not limit ourselves to the South African market. We have such great people and great expertise within the business that that is certainly exportable to other areas of the world as well. You
mentioned government employees medical scheme, and a little earlier you were talking about this is where the actual growth is coming from when it comes to new lives.
Yeah, the GEM scheme has done very, very well. The scheme has grown rapidly over the last few years. A scheme that is very well managed, and we're certainly very encouraged by what they have delivered to date.
Where do you see this going, though? How large do you see the scheme growing for government?
The government scheme is currently in the order of about 1.6 million lives. It's expected that it could grow beyond 2 million lives. We've certainly seen very aggressive growth on a month-to-month basis. If the scheme continued to be managed the way it is at the moment, which we are sure will happen into the future, that we expect the membership growth to continue in that scheme.
The industry norm when it comes to solvency is sitting at 25%. Do you think this is fair?
It depends. There's no real scientific reason behind the 25%. You have some schemes where it should be lower. Schemes that are smaller, as an example, should probably have a higher reserve level. But you have the trustees who obviously take these factors into account. The schemes that we manage, for example, have a solvency ratio of higher than 25%. Some of the schemes have a solvency ratio of up to 40%. And those are all factors that that our clients take into account when we advise them around what the solvency ratio should be within the scheme. But the regulated level is 25%.
André, let's touch on what you're actually passionate about. Apart from being passionate about your family, I know that you like art quite a bit, the Karoo, which is quite interesting, and even more interesting is off-road motorbiking. So tell us a little bit of what you do in your spare time. It seems that you're an adrenaline junkie with a soft part for art as well.
Yeah. I love collecting contemporary art. For me, it's food for my soul, and especially South African artists. I often go overseas and I look at art overseas as well. And I must say, I come back to South Africa and we have such talented artists in this country. So I'm very encouraged by that. And obviously, as apart from a hobby, it's also an investment for me. And in the Karoo, again, to find a bit of peace and quality time for myself, I often just
take your motorbike there?
I take motorbike and take it into the Karoo, and preferably to an area where there's no cell phone reception, yeah.
With regards to your proudest piece that you own, artwork, tell us.
As I said, I collect South African artists and contemporary. So really, for me, it's not so much about who the artist is, and it's not so much about the investment component. The investment component for me is really an aside, but it's I look at a piece of art and I either like it or I don't. If I do like it and I can afford it, then I buy it. Yeah.
And you also have 2 daughters. I'm sure they keep you quite busy because they are in their teens. 14 and 15 years old. How do you manage that, and also being such a strong leader, focusing on global expansion, African expansion, and then 2 teenage girls at home that I'm sure bring you down to earth?
I try on weekends to really not do any work. I try and spend time with my family, normally from a Friday afternoon. And you know, it's at this stage of their lives, it's very important. And you know, they only have the eldest have 3 years left to go, and then she'll be out of school as well. And it's important for me to spend quality time with both of them. They're also very much involved on weekends with horse riding, you know, and all sorts of sports activities. So, and I'd like to be there, and I'd like to, you know, see them grow up.
Okay, so I'm sure it's also quite important to you that you get to the gym every single day, given the fact that you are a proponent and pioneer within the health industry in South Africa. Am I right?
I'd love to say I do, but I don't. No. I'd like to get to gym at least 3 times a week. Not always. I don't always succeed in doing so, but I try to.
Let's just touch on what actually makes a leader and what your philosophy is from a leadership perspective. Is it really just about ensuring that you trust the people that are going to be putting in place the strategy that you've given them?
The success of any organization really is to have the right people on board. For me, it's important to go through a process to make sure that you bring the right people on board, and then to give them a detailed brief and leave them to do the job.
Apart from the toughest moments that you experienced in 2003 when it came to retrenchments and restructuring the business, what are the really challenging moments have you experienced within your professional career?
You know, we say in the healthcare industry there's never a dull moment, and I must say it's a very exciting, dynamic industry, but also with a lot of challenges. Healthcare cover is very much an emotive issue. It's an issue which is difficult to deliver. We strive to deliver quality at an affordable price, and that for us really is the overall challenge.
You know, right now when you see what is happening across the African continent, a lot of people, majority of people, do not have access to clean water, to healthcare. How passionate are you about this, and do you believe that we could actually get the same quality services to all Africans soon, hopefully?
That is, look, Africa is certainly a strong growth market. We believe that it's not, you know, that it's going to take time for us to get there. But if South Africa can get it right, and you know, it's going to take us some time to get there, I can't see any reason why the rest of Africa can't do it as well.
What are your thoughts on HIV Aids and the fact that we are fighting this disease?
There's certainly a lot more focus from government with the current Minister of Health to be more active and to provide more resources to fight the disease. The level of prevalence in South Africa really is high, and I think that, you know, with the commitment from government, we should get it under control in the future.
Fantastic, André. Great to have you on the program. Thank you so very much for joining us. That was André Meyer, the CEO of Medscheme. From me, Eleni Jakas, it's goodbye.